close your eyes and step into Oasis, where bedtime tales unfold like a gentle breeze, carrying you into a world of restful sleep. July 1969. Apollo 11, Command Module, Columbia. Orbiting the moon. Neil Armstrong floated within the cramped cabin, the straps securing his body gently tightening. He gazed out the window, where the massive Earth hung in the black velvet of space. The planet emitted a soft blue glow, its swirling clouds moving slowly across the surface. At the edge of the glow, a faint halo surrounded the Earth, the atmosphere. Inside the halo, varying shades of blue represented the oceans and land masses. Armstrong's eyes lingered on the outline of North America, his home. He reached out, his fingertips lightly tracing the cold cabin wall, following the western coast of the continent northward. Memories of his childhood in Wapakoneta, Ohio, flooded back. On summer nights, he would lie on the grass behind his house, staring up at the stars. His father would point out the Big Dipper, Orion, and other constellations. The twinkling stars and the endless darkness fascinated him. He would ask, "What's on those stars? Do people live there?" His father would smile and reply, "Maybe, maybe not. When you grow up, you can go see for yourself." Back then, he was just a boy who loved the stars, never imagining that one day he would actually travel to space. From a pocket on his chest, he pulled out a small notebook. Its cover was yellowed, the edges worn. It was his childhood diary, filled with his dreams of the cosmos. He gently flipped through the pages, stopping at one with a crude drawing of a rocket and the words, "I want to fly to the moon." The handwriting was childish but earnest. He smiled faintly at the drawing. The dream he had as a child had now come true. He closed the notebook and returned it to his pocket, where it rested against his chest, near his beating heart. On the control panel, various indicator lights flickered, emitting faint glows, red, green, yellow, like tiny stars. These lights represented the status of the spacecraft, the engines, power, communications, life support. They were the eyes of the ship and the eyes of the astronauts. Armstrong's gaze swept over each light, confirming that everything was in order. His fingers lightly touched the communication button. "Houston, this is Columbia. All systems normal," he said calmly. His voice transmitted back to Earth via radio waves. A few seconds later, Houston responded, "Columbia, we read you. All systems normal." The voice was slightly distorted, carrying the static of electrical interference, but it was comforting. It was a voice from Earth, from home. Armstrong closed his eyes and took a deep breath. The air was filled with the scent of metal and electronics, the smell of the spacecraft, the smell of space. He felt an unprecedented sense of peace. Far from the noise of Earth, far from the chaos of humanity, it was just him and the infinite cosmos. He felt as though he were floating in a vast womb, warm and safe. This was the beginning of the universe and the culmination of his dreams. He opened his eyes and looked out the window again, at Earth. The blue planet rotated silently in the darkness. It was the cradle of life, the cradle of civilization. It was humanity's home. He felt a deep sense of awe for the universe, for life, for humanity. He knew he was making history. He would be the first person to set foot on the moon. His name would be remembered forever. But he didn't feel excitement or elation. Instead, he felt calm, the calm of fulfilling a mission. He turned his head and looked at Buzz Aldrin, who was floating on the other side of the cabin, checking equipment. Aldrin's face was equally serene. They were partners, comrades, and brothers. They had trained together countless times, faced danger together countless times. They trusted and relied on each other. Together, they would complete this monumental task. Armstrong looked back at Earth through the window. The blue planet was growing smaller, farther away. It looked like a blue gem, embedded in black velvet, beautiful, fragile, and lonely. He hoped that humanity would cherish and protect it. He hoped that humanity would live in peace and explore the mysteries of the universe together. He closed his eyes again and drifted into a brief rest. Inside the cabin, floating water droplets slowly merged in the microgravity, forming soft points of light. Tiny droplets gathered, refracting the light from outside the window. Moon dust stirred beneath Armstrong's feet, a fine silvery powder. In the moon's weak gravity, the dust floated in the air like a thin mist. Armstrong took a slow step, leaving a clear footprint on the lunar surface, the first human footprint on the moon. He paused and looked around. It was a silent world. No wind, no sound, no life. Only endless gray and darkness. In the distance, the sun cast long shadows from the craters, their edges glowing with a silvery halo. The moon had no atmosphere, so sunlight struck the rocks and dust directly, creating extreme temperatures, scorching heat, and freezing cold. Armstrong's thick spacesuit shielded him from the harsh environment. Inside the suit, the air circulation system hummed softly, a sound of life, of safety. He looked down at his footprint. It was a lonely mark, but also a monumental one. It represented human courage, human ingenuity, and the spirit of exploration. He lifted his head and gazed into the distance. On the horizon, a faint blue glow appeared, the light of Earth illuminating the moon's darkness. He felt an inexplicable emotion. On the distant moon, he could see the light of home, the light of hope. He took a camera from his belt and snapped a photo of the footprint. It was a testament to history, a symbol of human pride. He continued walking, his steps light and slow. In the moon's low gravity, walking felt like dancing. He experienced a newfound freedom. His body was no longer bound by Earth's gravity. He could leap and tumble with ease, like a child playing on the moon. Aldrin emerged from the lunar module and stood beside Armstrong, both gazing into the distance. They didn't speak, simply standing in silence, sharing the stillness and the emotion. They were representatives of humanity, emissaries of Earth. They would leave human footprints on the moon and carry Earth's greetings to the cosmos. Aldrin began setting up equipment. He unfurled an American flag and planted it on the lunar surface. The flag fluttered gently in the sunlight, a symbol of human civilization and a wish for peace. He set up a seismometer to to study the moon's internal structure and installed a laser reflector to measure the distance between Earth and the moon. He collected samples of lunar rock and soil to bring back to Earth for analysis. His movements were skilled and precise. He knew these instruments would help humanity unlock the moon's secrets, and these samples would provide valuable information. He knew his work would contribute to humanity's future. Armstrong assisted Aldrin, moving equipment, connecting cables, and recording data. They worked in perfect harmony, like a single entity. Together, they established a small scientific base on the moon, humanity's first home on the lunar surface. Time on the moon felt slow and endless. An hour felt like a day felt like a year. Armstrong and Aldrin lost track of time. They were immersed in their work, in exploration. They enjoyed the silence, the freedom. They felt the pulse of the moon, the breath of the universe. They became one with the moon, one with the cosmos. They were no longer just earthlings. They were moon dwellers. They were no longer just astronauts. They were explorers. They were no longer just humans. They were part of the universe. In the low gravity, time stretched, and Aldrin's movements slowed. The faint sound of his breathing echoed in his helmet. Armstrong took one last look at the lunar surface. The gray dust cradled human footprints, the indentations holding metal instruments, and the folds of the American flag, like spores of civilization frozen in time. His helmet visor reflected a dual image, the barren moon before him, and the fireflies of Ohio's grasslands from his memory, merging into the primordial light of the universe. The lunar module's engines ignited, stirring the dormant moon dust. Silvery particles spread into bonds in the vacuum, and Armstrong's exhaled breath formed ice crystals on his visor, each hexagonal prism capturing the outline of a crater. Outside the window, the moon receded into a cracked ceramic shard, while Earth ahead expanded into a shimmering blue membrane, a perfect arc, like the one he had rolled with a marble in the snow. As a child, the metallic shudder of the command module docking reminded Collins of the moment a fishing line goes taut. The lone watcher had woven 22 silver orbits in solitude, and now he finally reeled in his moon. The three men embraced, shaking loose moon dust from electronic components. Lunar samples hidden in the folds of Aldrin's suit trembled in harmony with dandelion seeds from Earth, sharing the spiral dance of DNA. Flames licked their path as they re-entered Earth's atmosphere. The ionosphere coated the capsule in amber, and the three men inside resembled ancient insects preserved in resin, watching fragments of memories emerge in the orange firelight. Collins saw the rose thorns his wife had trimmed the night before launch. Aldrin heard the drip of a leak in the training module, echoing his father's dying breath. And the sweat in Armstrong's palms reconstructed the folds of North America's western coastline. The Pacific Ocean welcomed them, like a mother gathering scattered pearls. As the command module plunged into the waves, salt crystals formed Orion's constellation on the window, and the water trails Collins traced with his fingers aligned with the Milky Way's spiral arms. When the night air rushed into the cabin, the scent of eucalyptus mingled with moon dust, nesting in Armstrong's eyelashes. In the distance, the fleet's searchlights pierced the sea fog, resembling the ancient fishing lights of the Gulf of Mexico. "20 years later, on a night of unusual tides, maple leaves in Wapakoneta kissed the yellowed pages of a journal. Moon dust and earth pollen danced in the glow of a desk lamp, and as an old radio crackled with news of a new lunar mission, Armstrong could still hear the sigh of the oxygen system from the capsule, its frequency forever entangled with the dripping rain in the attic.